Good morning, good day, good evening. VRL only. I'm Alex Bomberg, VRL F1 co-commentator. Joining me today, he was here last week, he's here yet again, it's Adam Burns. How are you, Adam?
Hi guys, hi everyone, back by popular demand of course, here for the second quarter final of the VRL Social Tournament, and we're here live at the Sochi International Circuit in Russia. Certainly a good venue, Alex. Definitely looking forward to this one.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Russia held the VRL Season 4 test race back near the start of this game's cycle. It should be a very interesting one here to the second of the quarter-final brackets. It's very important to remember that this track hasn't been announced to the drivers, so they've had no practice at all, which could throw quite an interesting dynamic into the pot, Adam.
Yeah, it's just a very interesting dynamic. I just want to raise a point here. I was watching just before it all got going, and Jamil just slammed his car into the barrier at turn 1. Completely just went through it. So I don't know if there's something up with the lobby. I don't think there is. I think everything's fine, but that's a bit of a strange one. Already our first casualty in qualifying, so he's going to start at the very back of the field if we carry on as normal. But as we were saying, of course, following on from the first week, Alex, that we had last week, a very successful opening event. And of course, if you haven't seen that, I do recommend you check that out before I spoil the results. So I'll give you a minute or so, and then we will talk about that. But it's a very interesting dynamic, this tournament, Alex, as we said before. It's a team event, so we've got 4 drivers from 5 different teams, all duking it out in a 50% race and short qualifying session that is happening right now to determine who's going to qualify for the semi-final. And the way it will work is, of course, the top 4 teams out of the 5 will qualify for the semi-final, 4 of which will be decided based on the order they finish. So the winning team in this event will qualify for one semi-final alongside the 4th place team, and then 2nd and 3rd will qualify for the other one as well. Now that I've had enough time, of course, we'll talk about the last week's race. So for those of you that didn't watch it, too late now, I'm going to spoil the result for you. But it was the randomers that came out on top with 39 points in dramatic fashion, as Sir Steve Matton from Most Decorated ran out of fuel just before the line and failed to finish in the points, which relegated his team Most Decorated to 2nd, with the Speeders coming 3rd, 69 Sesame Street taking up the final semi-final spot, which sadly meant that we had to say goodbye to Sunburst Racing. And of course, looking to see which of the 5 teams that we have today, which 4 of them are going to progress to the other semi-final as well next week.
Of course, and I'm sure you've noticed, about 3 minutes into this qualifying session, we got some very, very striking liveries. The teams, 4 drivers each running the same livery. They've all been given creative control with the names and the teams. Adam, if you've got them handy, shall we just have a quick run through the teams as the drivers start their first qualifying laps?
Yeah, so first team, we've got Poo on Everyone. I know, pun intended, named after the clever little name there after the corner in Belgium, Poo on. Quite hilarious as well. So we've got Killer 7 participating in that one. Killer 7, a fairly experienced driver. We've also got VRT Sam as well, SHR or MDJ as well, and Hill Hiker Tom competing as Benjamin Ardapple Gamer. Sets the fastest time so far. We also have the Hispania Racing team donning the Midlands livery, quite interestingly. It's BRT _ Andrea. We've got ASDF Kimmy. We've got replacing Kin Kiski this week, I believe, if I'm right, just having a look through my notes, because Kin Kiski unable to compete today, but replacing will be Mickey Tse, I hope I pronounced that right, and Ridwan F1. We've also got Virgin Racing Team, replacing Felix, I believe because Felix was meant to compete, our VRL F1 driver Felix is NOR Ure, I believe I pronounced that right. I might be wrong, so excuse me if I pronounce it wrong. But we've got LR Luke, of course, very experienced team driver in VRL. We've also got Sem, our VRL F1 champion for Season 4, and Tim Wentink as well. And then we've got the other 2 teams, Oompa Loompa. We've got Ice-T, MLT Eltink, MES Compassion, and Benjamin Ardapple Gamer. And then Bono Racing, we've got Avesta Racing, AMCF 33, Nicholas 1349, and Plusenbowl, who's currently the fastest on the track at the moment. So a very star-studded lineup, just like we had in the first quarter-final. Alex, which of the teams do you think is going to be the favourites to go through to the semi-final.
I mean, obviously it's impossible to tell as it was last week. You know, I think I spoke to you about this before the first quarterfinal last week, Adam. Our bets were on most decorated, the team of Marine, Steve, Matt, Yoda Speak, and Phil to come out on top, and they actually ended up coming second, obviously because of that fuel miscalculation from Steve. But yeah, it's just building on the fact that, you know, you never know what happens. This battle could go to the final lap for, you know, who progresses and who ultimately drops out, and it's going to be absolutely crazy, and I can't wait to get started. About a third of the way through this qualifying session, just watching Tim come through the final corner now. Seemed a relatively clean lap. He's still a second off Plushable, who, you know, so far, Adam, seems a very healthy time at the top there.
Yeah, very healthy time indeed, and we say that Avesta Racing has put in a good time as well for Bono Racing, so it's going to be an interesting dynamic. Of course, as we mentioned last week when I was working with Sem in the first race, that it doesn't necessarily matter if you are competing at the very front to concentrate on your own individual race. Of course, the drivers can only focus on themselves, but it's a team effort. There's no guarantee, even if you win this race, although it's very likely that it will happen for you, that will be enough to send you through. And of course, the aim of the game is to make sure as many of your drivers in your team finish in the points. And we saw last week, Sunburst, unfortunately, were down to one car after only 2 laps. And unfortunately, X18 did a brilliant job to bring it in the points, but sadly was not enough to send them through. So we're going to see a lot of interesting dynamics in this race, Alex. We're going to see a lot of teamwork. We're going to see a lot of drivers that would go for battles with certain drivers that they would normally compete against. This time we'll be competing with. So it will be very interesting to see what they do in this format.
Yeah, as you mentioned, that teammate kind of feel, we didn't see any of that in Most Decorated last week. We saw them going 3 wide, maybe even 4 wide at one point. I can't quite remember, but they had a crazy battle. I'm really interested to see the dynamic between some of the teams. A lot of the drivers know each other from most teams. They all got together, pull the team together, so you'd think on paper that they'd all be working together, but that isn't always going to be the case. And will we see controversy either today or later on in the tournament with teammates colliding?
Well, this is it. At the moment, you'd think that what we saw last week, Most Decorated, as fun as it was to watch, we must say, it's not going to be a repeat occurrence. Of course, those guys know each other very, very well, all very highly competitive, and obviously wanted to have some fun, knowing that they were safe, knowing that their teammate Marine had done the business for them, really, up at the top end of the order. So I don't expect to see any of that today, but it will be interesting to see how some of these drivers help each other out. Will we see teams helping each other? Will we see drivers perhaps letting their teammates through or holding up other drivers to try and maximise their chances? Of course, remember, we're only saying goodbye to one team. So without a wheel being turned, Alex, there's a 20% chance that your team is going to be going through if you're one of these guys in the paddock. So as long as you can manage your race okay and be consistent and finish in the points, there's a good chance you'll go through. But we'll have to wait and see how that all pans out.
Yeah, of course, and right now it's not looking too bad for Bono Racing. Avesta Racing up in second. I'm currently on board with NLR Jur. I believe I've pronounced that correctly. Don't hold me to it. Invalidated lap time. That's something that we're going to see quite often here in qualifying, and penalties in the race could be something that we need to look into, because Russia through the middle sector is quite easy to pick up penalties with, you know, how much the drivers, you can really gain a lot by pushing the track limits, but you can also lose a lot by picking up a 3-second time penalty. So it's almost risk and reward as we watch the Bono Racing car now down into turn number 2. Adam, let's take us on a lap of the Sochi Autodrome.
So we're on board with NL Jur at the moment, trying to really wring the neck this car. Hold it onto the left-hand side, got that long turn out seeing the stadium where the Winter Olympics was held, and then you've got to chuck it in the right-hander down into 4th gear, now building up speed all the way up, and now he's back on his lap. I'll tell you, I had this problem with Sem last week. It was commentator's curse, so as soon as I focused on a lap, someone would either go into the pits or they'd just give up on their lap, Alex. I think we're going to get a repeat occurrence this week.
We'll try a little bit later. I think he may have got an invalidation on the exit of turn number 5 there, and just as I mentioned at the start of the lap. But Plojbolt sets another fastest lap of 31.111. That puts him about 7 tenths clear of Avesta Racing. He's going to be quite happy with that. His team are also going to be very happy with that. It's a strong lap from Plojbolt there.
Well, it's a Pollution Bowl, definitely one of the leading runners in my mind. He's obviously a very good driver in VRL F1. He's driven in other leagues as well, doing very well. And he's in a strong team. Him and Avesta Racing, who were 1 and 2 until Ice-T for Oompa Loompa, has put himself second. But it's a very strong order. I'm expecting Bono Racing to have a lot to say in this tournament. I think they're definitely going to be one of the teams looking very strong to go through to the semi-final. Although, if you were to ask me who I think are definitely teams going through, 3 in my mind are Virgin Racing, Oompa Loompa and Bono Racing. So, definitely a lot expected of these teams, but as I said, 4 of them will be going through today. 1 of them will sadly not, and compassion for Oompa Loompa has just gone third fastest. And now, all saying that, AMCF 33 for Bono Racing. So now we've got, Alex, 3 Bono Racing cars in the top 5. So they'll be very happy.
I've just been watching F1 Season 4 champion on his lap. Stem 12 2002 cross the line, goes second. Much closer to Pollution Bowl than AMC, TVH, Ice-T, LO Compassion and Avesta Racing have all been able to do so. So positive signs for the Virgin Racing team. Sam up in second, a little bit further back though, Tim Wenting only P8. Luke, I believe, is on his lap now. I haven't seen much of Luke. He's actually invalidated, so yeah, as I said, it's going to be tricky. Oh, and he's off into the wall.
Oh, and Luke's had a spin. Yeah, it's right there. It's not what he wanted.
Wrecked his front wing and his tyres, so he's going to have to do another lap. Got quite a few drivers yet to settle up. NLR Jur, who we tried earlier with Adam. He seems as if he hasn't invalidated this time. He's going to complete a lap. It seemed relatively pedestrian through the little uphill on camber chicane through the final corner. For Bono Racing, he puts his car P9. Not a bad effort, just behind MDJ. That's Mikey. He's racing for the Poo on Everyone team. Poo on Everyone not having a bad showing so far, you'd have to say, in their striking brown and somewhat red livery, Adam.
Yeah, they're well, certainly trying with a double entendre on that one, but they're certainly look good at the moment. As I was saying, there's going to be so much to watch out for. You're only as strong as your slowest driver in this format, which makes it really interesting. And at the moment, Poo on Everyone, they're kind of spread out in the pack.
Yeah.
At the moment, so definitely going to need to use these last 5 minutes to try and bolt on a new set of tyres, really nail it. As you can see, a lot of the drivers going for the soft tyre strategy. There's not too much of a difference between the soft and the mediums in terms of tyre strategy. The mediums will give you a lot more flexibility, but I'm expecting a lot of these guys to go soft hard. Maybe we might see some people outside the top 10. Of course, we're adopting the same Formula 1 rules for qualifying as well, where the top 10 will start the race on their fastest tyre and the rest will have a free choice. So it'll be quite interesting to see how that pans out in the race, what the guys outside the top 10 will do.
Yeah, of course. Just watching Hill Hiker Tom, he's on his lap. A little bit. I've noticed a little bit of an irregularity, running a slightly different colour livery. Nevertheless, still the same idea there for the Poo on Everyone Racing team. As you mentioned, Adam, a little bit spread all over the shop. Mikey up in 8th, his Hill Hiker down in 13th as he tries to navigate the final sector. And as we were mentioning, the Poo on Everyone team, VRT Sam actually retired from the session, so that's not good news for that team. Here comes Tom through the final corner. Seemed a relatively pedestrian lap, puts him P12, not able to break into the top 10, but will, starting outside the top 10 and getting that free tyre advantage, will that give you much an advantage here at Russia and at Sochi, where the tyre wear isn't that high, Adam?
No, it's not, and it will give you more options, but I feel that if you're going to go mediums into this race, you're really going to have to bank on a lot of incidents happening that will allow you to take advantage of this. I mean, if it were me personally, Alex, I would definitely be trying to go for the soft tyres. However, if you qualify outside the top 10, it might benefit you. So plenty of options here, and as I said, not really a right or a wrong choice in terms of tyres. You said there's a lot of room. The tyre wear's not as aggressive here. On a track like Russia, there's a lot of runoff area, there's a lot of 90-degree corners, but not that abrasive. So the drivers will have plenty of choice here. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out in the race, who goes for soft and who goes for mediums outside the top 10.
Of course. Got Luke here, who's going to be starting what I believe to be his final qualifying lap. He will have room to do an extra one if he bottles this one, but we know Luke, very experienced VRL F1 tier driver, won his first VRL race just this season in USA, passing well, this soon to be at that point season 4 champion Sem on the last lap. What is Luke going to do here? Adam, if you were in Luke's shoes, what position are you targeting here, considering his teammate up in P2 and other notable teammates, Tim, just outside the top 10? Where would you place your bets here for Luke?
Well, he needs to put himself inside the top 10, that's for sure, to really get himself alongside his teammates. So they do need him to deliver, because I can only see the three of them at the moment, three of the Virgin Racing Team cars at the moment. So they're already a man down at this point in time. He's got his teammate ahead of him, Sem, who is going to try and give him a bit of a tow, actually. So this is quite clever. Sem playing the team game. I love this element of the teamwork. You do see this from time to time, and Sem showing his quality and experience there as VRL champion for Season 4.
Remember, them really two were teammates. Luke and Sem teammates at Racing Point.
Absolutely, yeah. So Luke, at the moment, it's been a good lap so far. He's not taken too many risks. You can really see he's not wringing the neck of that car like he normally would in qualifying. He's a very good qualifying in his own right. He just wants to get a good lap in. The car in front isn't really going to pose much of a problem to him as he comes to the final corner, really locks his brakes, compromises his exit, and he gets 8th place. Not ideal, but I think he'll take that given the circumstances. Not a bad effort. I
think he's going to tow Sem down this main straight, is he, maybe? I thought he would have. He's clearly getting a move on, maybe to do the same thing his teammate did to him just a lap prior. But one thing you got to bear in mind is that these multiplayer cars handle much differently to the F1 2019 spec cars that these drivers are used to using, so they will have to adjust according to the setup and according to the car. So it could be a game of adjustment.
Yeah, that's right, Alex. And not to mention, they've got fixed setups as well. So these guys won't have known where we were going to be racing. It's worth pointing out to the viewers, once again, if you weren't with us last week, that it's fixed driver setups. And also on top of that, the drivers are made aware of which track we're going to be racing at 5 minutes before the session starts. Even we didn't know where we were going.
Yeah.
We literally just have to hop on a plane at the last minute and head over to Russia. We didn't even know. So there's no time to get used to the circuit or the car or anything. You literally just got to jump in, strap yourself in, and get out there and do the fastest time possible. So it really does throw the cat amongst the pigeons. You can see Sem at the moment, 2 temps up, really locking the brakes of that car. He's really pushing. He wants to get it on the front of the grid. Pushable just under 3 temps ahead of him. It's going to be very close to see what Sem can do. He got a nice tow off his teammate just coming through there. You don't want to commit too far. Early upshift to try and minimise wheel spin at the back end, and now throws in the final corner. It's almost like a double apex. Lines it up, get a wide entry in the corner, not too deep to cut your lap. Sem comes across the line and he just misses out. Only a 10th off Pollution Bowl's pole time, but I think he'll be happy with a front row grid slot. Not a bad effort, especially when you've got Tim Wentink 3rd in the team, and of course Luke as well, who's fallen out of the top 10.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. A good job for Tim to go up from, what was it, around 12th up to 3rd now. AMCF 33. Aaron in the correct me if I'm wrong, what team's he racing for?
Aaron, he is racing for, just looking through my team.
Bono Racing. My apologies there.
Yes.
He actually got his lap invalidated, so 4th is the best he's going to do. Just watching SHR MDJ as he comes through the final sector now. It seems one thing that I've picked up on, Adam, I'm not sure about you, is that these multiplayer cars are a little bit harder to wrestle round the final corners here than the normal F1 2019 cars are.
Yeah, they're understeering a lot, which doesn't allow them to really throw it in speed. You can see that those last corners, especially Sem's Kai Eltink has just nailed it on pole at the death. See that one off the screen. What a lap from him in the 1:31.0. So that's kind of raised a few eyebrows there. Of course, Kai, part of the Oompa Loompa team, alongside Ice-T, our Vero F2 runner-up, Compassion, and Benjamin Ardapple Gamer. So that's a very strong lineup. And all things considered, they really needed that time, but they've got 3 guys in the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely solid.
Sorry, 4 guys in the top 10 actually. Excuse me, Benjamin's in there as well. So yeah, the only team to have got 4 drivers in the top 10. So advantage to the Oompa Loompa team at the moment.
Of course, that's quite a surprise if I'm honest, but fair play to them. They've obviously got their act together, working really well as a team. I believe Kai did end up getting a tow from one of his teammates. It might have been Compassion who set his lap just before Ice-T in that striking hot pink livery. Adam, it's really close in qualifying. Give us a rundown of the...
So we've got Kai Elting at the death in qualifying, leaving it late. Nail it on pole for the Oompa Loompa. But we'll join him second. F1 champion for the... No, see, it's terrible. VRL F1 champion for the team, that's right, in third place with Compassion 4, Tim Wenting 5th, 6th AMC, 7th MDJ IT, 8th Avesta Racing 9th, and Benjamin Ardapple Gamer rounding off the top 10 to confirm Oompa Loompa the only team to get 4 guys in the top 10. So that is very impressive. That just shows their pace, and that they're definitely going to be my favourites by the looks of it.
Yeah, of course.
To get to the final.
I don't know if... Yeah, don't hold me to this, but I don't believe any team did that last week to have all of their drivers in the top 10.
No, they didn't. So very, very impressive. But of course, we don't award points for qualifying, but it's definitely a good opportunity. And of course, we should remind everybody of the format. So it's going to be a 50% race, guys, with normal. Fastest lap will be assigned 2 points to split separately. So the fastest lap inside the top 10 will get a point. Fastest lap for 11th to 20th will also get a point as well, which the Steve Mattam actually interestingly got for most decorated after finishing in 11th after running out of fuel in the final lap. So inadvertently falling down the order, but ended up picking an extra point for fastest lap because he finished 11th. So it'll be interesting to see how that sort of worked out. Now remember, guys, the point system will be the standard point system with the top 10 scoring points as they do in Formula 1. And of course, pole position does get a point. So Kai has already got a point. That's why Sem was chasing pole position, Alex. It wasn't just to get it on pole, but a point was available for his team, and Kai has done that. So well done to him. Oompa Loompa already scoring the pole position point.
Yeah, of course, that 1 point could be massive to see them through to the next quarterfinal. If I'm honest, I don't think they'll struggle to get through unless they have any dramas, which of course is possible. You got to remember, it's VRL, anything can happen. But yeah, I'm really liking this change up of the liveries. I hope you all at home in quarantine are all enjoying it. I hope you're getting by okay. It's really nice to see some striking liveries. Bono Racing there in the mint blue and the hot pink of Oompa Loompa. But yeah, a little bit further back, you've got to consider what VRT Sam and Jamil can do in P1 Everyone and HRT respectively, I believe.
Yeah, they're going to have a lot of work to do for their teams, and of course at the back of the field it's not going to do them any favours being so far down, but of course we know them from their ventures in VRL. We know they're quick drivers, so it'll be fun to watch them climb up through the orders, but they're definitely going to be under pressure. They have to deliver. But of course it's worth mentioning that our friends at Virgin Racing, Luke, Sem and Tim, are without Felix, so they're already a car down before a wheel's been turned, so they're definitely going to have to make sure that they do their job, and the last thing they want is to lose any more cars as this race goes on. And that's going to be the key, Alex. It's not just about finishing in the points. You have to make sure that you survive the early stages and don't retire, because at the end of the day, if your team runs out of cars, you're not going anywhere in this tournament.
Yeah, of course, as we mentioned in qualifying, teamwork will be key. Just a little update there. Jamil is not racing for the HRT team. They have a very similar livery. However, I'm not too sure which team he's racing for, but I'm a fan of the livery on Jamil and Kimi and Ridwan. However, they've got a lot of work to do from the back of the grid. There's 27 laps ahead of us at the Sochi Autodrome. Kai Elting in the Oompa Loompa team on pole. Plusenbol in second. He's going to want to be able to put something in there for his team, which is Bono Racing. Remember, as Adam mentioned, Oompa Loompa very strong in qualifying. All 4 of their cars, 100% of their drivers in the top 10. Kai picking up that extra point for pole position. We've got a green flag. 19 drivers on the grid. as we look to the 5 red lights. 5 red lights ahead of the drivers. Look, but never stare. Who's going to take the lead down into turn number 1? Looks like Mickey T has jumped the start, but back at the front. It's a clean getaway from Kai as Plushball slots in ahead of Sem, who tucks into the slipstream. Tim in the following pack. It's the pink car of Kai Elting, who leads into turn number 2, just blocking off Plushball, who's going side by side, and Kai Elting has gone off the track, Adam. I'm not sure if he just outbroke himself. That's going to promote Plushball up into the lead. He's side by side with Sem 12 2004. AMC further back, battling with Tim. Tim seems to have got up down the inside. LR Compassion challenging a little bit further back. There's Tim side by side with LMC as we go into turn number 6. He's going to force his rival out wide. That's Tim up into P2. Sem is up into the lead, and crucially, the Virgin Racing team with 2 cars on the podium. What a turnaround from the starting grid, Adam.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to Kai there. He might have disconnected because he said he left the session and he's ghosting at the moment. So, I mean, it could be possible that whilst he was braking into turn 1, he might have disconnected from the session. So the AI might have took control at the worst possible point, which allowed, as you mentioned, Plushball and Sem is now Plushball looking for a move up the inside of Sem to retake the lead. Oh, they go very deep into the corner. Sem rings it round the outside. He'll get the inside into the next corner. He'll get the inside line again. Plushball might have to just tuck in behind him and live to fight another day. But we're already seeing so much action already, as expected. It's great stuff to see already. Now, what can Sem do? Can he pull away from Plushball? Can Tim, who's right behind Plushball, back up his teammate to try and get past